I think it'd be really nice to connect with actual families, and then if they have any input or they have any questions, where should we go? Kind of being able to actually provide that feedback and be like, this is my experience. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, we can't do that with children until they're 10. And I'm like, well, I started backpacking when I was 6. So actually you can do it. You just have to have the mindset of give it a shot, even if it's for a day. So I think just providing that feedback, I'm like, well, I've actually experienced it and you can do it too, and kind of encourage other people to actually do the things that kind of on the, to-do list.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
All right, welcome everyone to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. I'm Angie Scott, and I am at the Outdoor Media Summit. I just finished up my presentation, which I mentioned on the last episode I was a little nervous about, but we powered through it, and now it's relax time, so I get to chill the rest of the sessions. But I'm here with Chelsea Ross from Crazy Fun Outdoor Adventures, and we're sitting poolside at the Hyatt Regency Resort in North Lake Tahoe, Incline Village. It's absolutely beautiful. Chelsea, have you been here before?
I haven't. No, this is my first time. I'm very excited to be here.
What do you think about it so far?
It's so cool to just connect in person and just network, right?
Yeah.
It's so much harder to reach out in the internet world and just have no idea where people are.
Yeah.
So this is just so much easier.
What do you think about this area and the scenery?
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't
we
it?
have the best spot for a conference.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you really couldn't get any better. This morning we had breakfast. I mean, literally view of the lake while we're eating breakfast in the mountains, Lake Tahoe. It's just gorgeous. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to the scavenger hunt this afternoon because we'll get to see and explore a little bit more of the surrounding area.
Yeah, here we're going to walk a lot.
Yeah, probably get a lot of steps in this afternoon. But so you're from Canada.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
I just love spending time in the outdoors, either going hiking, backpacking, cross-country skiing. And I've grown up with my family always doing all these activities. And I thought, you know what, if I can blog and share my information with either families and couples, because I do a lot of things with my partner, then that would be really cool to kind of share in a broader space. I've always loved sharing with friends and just, the travel community, because I love to travel as well. And I just thought, blogging, I love to write about it. So I figured, why not kind of reach a broader audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So talk a little bit about where you're from and some of the destinations that you love traveling to.
So I'm from Edmonton, Canada, and I'm a speech language assistant. I work with kids full time, and then this is just kind of a side hustle. And I've traveled to Bali, and I've gone hiking there. I've gone Norway and gone hiking there, France, all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So that's something I really haven't done much of. And I was even thinking about it yesterday as I was traveling from Nashville to here at a connecting flight in Denver. And I was just I felt anxiety kind of a little bit the whole time. And then I thought to myself, well, at least I'm in the United States. This is a lot easier than if I was traveling to another country or something of that nature.
You know the language, too.
Yes, exactly. So tell me a little bit about what that experience has been like for you.
Well, it's been actually really cool. So I'm Francophone, and then I speak a little bit of Spanish. So going to France is easy. Going to, I've been to Ecuador, and I know a little bit of Spanish. And with France and some sign language, you can kind of figure it out. Australia is English.
Do you find those other countries, I've heard there's still a lot of English, signage and stuff like that, or is that not really?
Mostly in Europe, there's a lot of English, so that's okay. Bali was a lot, whatever their language is, Balinese or whatever it is. So that was a little bit trickier, but people are really friendly, and you just ask questions. Hey, I don't know, I need to go here. Can you tell me where to go? And I mean, in Bali was really cool because I was able to take all these taxis, and they're really cheap. And so you just say, hey, I want to go here, and they just drive you. And it's just really convenient.
Are you, do you experience any kind of anxiety when you're traveling to these remote or different places where you don't know the language, or are you pretty confident?
I'm pretty confident. I mean, Ecuador, I went with a tour group and we had like an English guide, so then that made it easier. I think if I really didn't know and we really need to find a place in, like certain countries, let's say like Ecuador, we wouldn't have probably taken a taxi. So if I don't necessarily know where I'm going and you ask the driver and you're just kind of relying on them, then it's a little bit more anxiety driven. But I've kind of just realized that people want to show you the place. People are just friendly. So if you just kind of take, that aspect of everyone's probably going to be nice and just ask questions and they'll be friendly and they'll help you figure it out.
Do you have somebody that goes with you on these trips, or are you solo?
So I've mostly been, no, I don't do solo. I've mostly gone with my family. I've been very privileged to go all over the world with them and do all these activities. And then I do a lot with my partner, Chris.
Okay.
And we just, I love doing things with people.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just so much of the interaction and things to share with people. I do go hiking every once in a while by myself, but I prefer with someone else.
I think that's part of why I had some anxiety traveling yesterday, because I was on my own and it's been a while since, actually probably since Outdoor Media Summit last year, I think maybe was the last time. Now in the past, I've done a lot of solo trips, but once you get accustomed to having somebody with you all the time, and then you do something solo, then it all of a sudden feels a little different.
Well, and it's funny because I'm like, okay, like I'm going to Denver first, and then I'm going to, go to Reno, and I'm like, it is, I'm like, but I totally got this. I'm like, I have a lot of experience traveling. I can do this. And then, you figure things out, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then, of course, I had to do customs in Canada. It seemed like so complicated. And I'm like, just ask, again, you ask someone, and he helped me, and I was like, oh, I could totally do this, right? And kind of like a little bit empowering to, just travel by yourself, just go to a conference. And then I'm like, well, at least I'll be with people here.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and everybody here is so cool. I mean, it's, it can be a little bit intimidating going to a conference or a summit like this solo. But then you just start talking to people and we're all like-minded. And
they're all chill, right? And they're just like, they get you and they want to be in the outdoors and passionate about it. I'm like, oh, this is like, it's totally my it people.
These are my people.
yeah, exactly.
And you feel like, you already have that connection, and you feel like a lot of times you meet people here and you feel like you've known them a lot longer than
For sure. Yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't even matter who you run into, right? Because last night with the reception, it's like, oh, you're going to have to introduce yourself and, meet people. And I'm like, oh, that's a little bit nerve-wracking. And then before you know it, you meet different people and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty easy. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So I encourage anybody listening, if you have an opportunity, if, you're passionate about the outdoors, which I assume you are for listening to the show, and you have an opportunity to attend an event like the Outdoor Media Summit, or anything like this. I mean, even if it's just a local, fishing meetup or something, go, and you'll if you're intimidated by it, I think if you put yourself out there and go, you'll be pleasantly surprised, because we all have that connection, and automatically you're just
family.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And a good family.
Yeah. So camping wise, have you ever done any glamping? That's a kind of a trending thing right now.
Not really.
Okay.
No, normally use the tent, or you use like the big backpack and go backpacking. But no, I haven't really done a whole. Like I do like nice resorts, let's say, but not necessarily like a nice tent outside.
Yeah, I haven't either. Okay, I've seen it online and stuff, and it looks really cool. I would love to experience the whole glamping thing.
Yeah, I've seen like glamping in like Africa, let's say. They have like all these nice huts, or let's say you go to Peru and do Machu Picchu, and kind of the same thing. Yeah, people like camping, bringing your stuff, and I'm like, oh, that seems like really upscale.
Yeah, so that would be very cool. Well, so where are some of your favorite places to go camping?
Definitely the Rockies, like the Canadian Rockies. I spent a lot of time there and just hiking and backpacking. Kananaskis area. Yeah, anything in BC or Alberta. Just spent like tons of time. Skyline, Rockwall Trail, Mount Assiniboine. Yeah, just like gorgeous spots, and kind of done them so many times just because they're absolutely gorgeous areas to just hike.
How do you do in the winter?
I do cross-country skiing.
Okay.
So do a lot of cross-country skiing. I do classic. They have set tracks to go cross-country skiing. We have that at Cooking Lake Blackfoot or Strathcona Wilderness Center, like about an hour away from home, which is really convenient. Sometimes we do downhill skiing as well, but that's a little bit further, and of course way more costly, right? So we do less of that. But I mean, I try to make sure that I'm outdoors all the time. It's so good for your mental health and your physical health.
Absolutely. snowshoeing? Do you ever do that?
I have done it a little bit. I don't I used to have like the big, huge ones, so
Yeah.
you use those ones. I've never invested in like the smaller ones, and if I'm hiking in the winter, then I'm like, well, I should just be cross country skiing.
Yeah, I get that.
Like I'll go for walks, but I haven't really geared myself to do snowshoeing. Like maybe if we got into it or knew other people that did it, but since I have cross country skiing or downhill skiing or walking just in the neighborhood, I haven't really tried it out all that much.
I get that, yeah. So I'm from Minnesota originally, so I kind of understand the whole lifestyle,
Right.
when you live in a colder climate area, you've got to find ways to get outdoors. And it's interesting, now that I live in Tennessee versus my childhood growing up in Minnesota, you wouldn't think it, but it's a much more outdoor focused culture.
Right.
Than it is down in Tennessee where it's warmer.
Right.
But in the winter, people just kind of tend to, from my experience or what I've observed, kind of tend to shut down and stay indoors.
Yeah, we have, winter can be 6 to 8 months. So if we did
that. Exactly,
we wouldn't even have much of a life.
So it's interesting, being in the north where it gets cold for that long of a period of time, people have figured out how to stay active year round.
Oh, for sure.
And I definitely suffer from the seasonal affective disorder.
Oh, yeah.
Affective or whatever it's called. Because of it gets dark so early.
It's just dark a lot of the time. Yeah.
I'm just so, I love the sun. And so I've kind of designed a lifestyle where I can go down to Florida in the winter months. But I give props to all you up in those parts of the world that it's cold and dark and you still, stay active and get outdoors.
Yeah, I'm definitely also affected by that. So I definitely, even at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, you have to go for a walk, even if it's like for half an hour, let's say, but it'll still make you feel so much better, right?
Yeah.
And even if it's in the neighborhood and then, close to Christmas, people have the lights out. So then it's, you have nice kind of, walk. And then I kind of tell myself, okay, well, that's November, December. And then slowly, light will come back. But I try to make it at least once a weekend to go cross country skiing or for a walk or I really like skating. So sometimes I go skating
nice.
too. Yeah.
Cool. That's one thing I never really got into. I started, I actually used hockey skates.
Okay, yeah.
And I never learned how to stop.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, or can be. Yeah.
That's like a whole, thing. I think once you get it, but I never got to that point. So I would just slow down.
Yeah, slowly, right? Yeah.
So you've got this blog and it's a side hustle. What's your vision for it? I mean, I know you're just getting started and at this event, you're getting a lot of feedback from people and kind of taking in all the information you can. But if you had your druthers, what's your vision for it?
I think it'd be really nice to connect with actual families. And then, if they have any input or they have any, questions, where should we go? Kind of being able to actually provide that feedback and be like, this is my experience. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, we can't do that with children until they're 10. And I'm like, well, I started backpacking when I was 6. So actually you can do it. You just have to have the mindset of give it a shot, even if it's for a day. So I think just providing that feedback, I'm like, well, I've actually experienced it and you can do it too, and kind of encourage other people to actually do the things that kind of on the, to-do list, bucket list, but kind of tell themselves, oh, I don't know if I can actually do this, or even be able to guide some hikes or something, right? Or even a one-night backpacking trip and kind of help people kind of give themselves some self-confidence of oh, I can do this. It's actually not bad, but just having a go-to person to even ask questions or guide them.
Yeah.
So they can do it too, because I just want people to hang out in the outdoors. It's just so wonderful.
Well, I've interviewed quite a few people on this podcast, and one interesting thing that I would recommend to you to consider down the road is a lot of people that I've interviewed, they put together these curated trips, packages to places you've been before.
Right.
Maybe relationships you have with destinations, certain campgrounds or resorts or whatever it may be, and guide them on these trips, because then they don't have to do it if they're scared to do it on their own. they have somebody that's kind of walking them through and guiding along. So
right.
that could be totally something you could do down the road once you
keep in mind for sure
to grow. I think that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, because I mean, like if people are scared of the just going by themselves in the indoors, and then you add a traveling aspect, which can also be very anxiety driven, and even if you go with a family but you don't really know what to expect, you didn't really travel a lot growing up, then for sure I can totally see that.
Awesome. Well, I'm I'm glad to have gotten to meet you at this conference, and I'm excited to see your blog grow. And I know you can do it. I can tell you're passionate about it. And it's a lot of work for people out there listening that might not realize.
Yep.
So kudos to you for taking the step to get it started. And
well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's
been
great to meet you.
My pleasure. I'll put links to your socials and your blog in the show notes for this episode. So hopefully people can click and follow along as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Angie.
My pleasure.